Well, one of the earliest double features I remember seeing at a drive-in movie theater was Jailhouse Rock, Elvis Presley, and 40 Guns with Barbara Stanwyck and Barry Sullivan, which is a Samuel Fuller movie.
Take your gun hawks and run!
But of course, I didn't know in those days who Samuel Fuller was, but later on learned to appreciate how much fun he had with that widescreen movie. I think my parents encouraged me to see double features because it got me and my sisters out of the house.
All these wonderful ads were in the papers, and every theater, every marquee had double bills, which were amazing. You know, you have a double bill of Shane and The Lady Wants Mink.
Real sapphire blue mink. Girls, just feel it.
People went for that. It was kind of a light comedy, you know, beautiful color. And then Shane came on. So they complemented each other in a way.
Gosh almighty, that is good!
And very often films were re-released. You'd have Follow the Fleet and Robinson Crusoe, directed by Louis Buñuel. Or Gilda and All the King's Men. There was a double bill of Robin Hood and I Am a Fugitive from a Chain Gang. The film that really stood out was Chain Gang.
If you think those other chain gangs are tough, wait till you get a load of this joint.
It was, I think, the first experience that we had, my friends and I, with pre-code film. We were stunned and shocked by it, and became really a touchstone film, so to speak.
Can't you tell me where you're going? Will you ride? Do you need any money? But you must, Jim. How do you live?
I steal.
One show I went to see by myself, I remember, a double bill of Mighty Joe Young and Isle of the Dead. And Isle of the Dead is the great Val Lewton film directed by Mark Robeson, which I admire so greatly. And it disturbed me so much that I couldn't watch the ending. So I went back a second time at the St. Mark's where it was playing. And sure enough, at the same point, I got up and walked out. I never got to the end.
2 for 1.
Basically, the definition of a double feature is 2 films for 1 admission, period. They didn't have to be connected. In fact, in the commercial theaters, they were not connected. In the mid-1950s, the Loews theater chain ran a double feature for the entire week of La Strada, the Fellini film, and Trooper Hook with Joel McCrea and Barbara Stanwyck. They had nothing to do with each other. It's jaw-dropping to think of that.
The double feature sort of made a class distinction between the A movie and the B movie. But there was a very interesting way they would combine movies, like I went to see The Day the Earth Stood Still. And the second feature was William Cameron Menzies' Invaders from Mars. So you got to see the black and white kind of docudrama of an actual flying saucer landing on the mall in Washington, D.C.
Just a minute, ladies and gentlemen. I think something is happening.
And then you jump from that to a kind of pot-boiling, scary for kids, really terrifying movie. Something lands behind your house, and your parents go to investigate it, and suddenly they're strangers, and they're not your dad and mom anymore.
What has he been telling you? He's been reading those trashy science fiction magazines.
And I remember when I saw that double bill, I went back to see it again, but I skipped The Day the Earth Stood Still, and I only went back to see Invaders from Mars.
Now, every so often, a B movie is going to be a masterpiece, like Gun Crazy, but those are few and far between.
They would show pictures made by low-budget studios, PRC, things like that. You didn't know, you just went in, and suddenly this would come up. There was a doomsday double bill, so to speak. One film called 1,000 Years From Now. Stuart Gilmore directed, he was an editor. It was a post-apocalyptic film.
I'm not your servant. Everyone serves me.
And it was coupled with an extraordinary Red Scare horror film called Invasion USA, where the Russians come in and take over America.
The red alert is on. Unidentified planes approaching New York.
And that was quite shocking.
You've got to talk into the mic.
Well, I can't make love to a bush!
At the end of the silent era, attendance was like 100 million people a week. By 1933, the depths of the Depression, it had plummeted to about 40 million people a week. The double feature was an act of desperation on the part of the movie business. And then the double feature just became a way of life. It just became standard.
So Willett is showing Souls on a Tandem.
What's the picture with it?
The Case of the Missing Milkman.
We can miss that. But I hear Souls on a Tandem is good.
I love the fact that my parents were of a generation that would just drop in on the movie when they felt like it.
This trio typifies all the pests who annoy you at the cinema.
And of course, we just walk in the middle. So you found your own little niche in a way where you make yourself comfortable. And being a shorter person, there's usually a taller person in front of me and I can't see anything. There's somebody crazy next to you and I had to get up, walk around, find another seat. And when the second film was to start, there were no lights or curtains. They just switched from one reel to the other.
This is where we came in.
This is where we came in. That was the line that came from that era. You would hear somebody say, okay, this is where we came in. We'd get up and we'd leave.
I can't imagine what movie going was like in those days.
Excuse me, pardon me, excuse me, I beg your pardon, excuse me, pardon me, excuse me.
If you've always wanted to talk, why don't y'all go outside?
I think the whole eclectic nature of movie-going is that you can leave one film and reset, because a double feature is not just two films, it's everything in between. In my era of going to the movies to see a double feature, in between both feature films, there were maybe 7 cartoons. There was probably a serial, probably dusted off and reissued. There was a newsreel in the early to mid-50s. There were previews, as we have today, coming attractions before the feature starts. So it was a block of entertainment, and that was something that made it fun to go to the movies.
Double features were still a thing well into the 1960s, into the 1970s, then they started petering out. But in art houses and revival houses, they remained for years.
The Thalia was really interesting, especially in the summer. It had 2 films every day, and they were mainly foreign films. And for example, Alexander Nevsky, I saw there. A life-changing experience, just walking in the middle of it. I never saw a battle scene like that, and the whole nature of Eisenstein. It was quite extraordinary.
And I remember my dad and mom taking me to a film that they had already seen in theaters back in the 40s, and it was called Casablanca, and it was on a double bill with Passage to Marseille. I just was so sucked into that story.
I'm not interested in politics. The problems of the world are not in my department. I'm a saloon keeper.
They were going to catch Victor Laszlo at any moment. They were going to put him in a concentration camp, and Rick didn't go too far to either side until he did.
Play La Marseillaise. Play it.
And I remember that movie having a powerful, powerful effect on me.